All right, let's do it.
Welcome to our podcast, Jules and Jim, with me, Julian Hutchings, known as Jules.
And me, Jim Smith, known as Jim. The first podcast of 2026.
2026, absolutely. Now we're going to start heavy, dear listener.
Both of you.
Am I right in thinking it was your birthday on December 30th?
Yeah, I'm now 71, Julian.
71, and this year I am going to be 70. So we are marching, walking, strolling, hiking. We'll get to that later, towards death. So
We're on the home straight.
straight. So let's talk about mortality, Jim. Are you scared of dying?
Yes, I am. I don't want to die. As Woody Allen said, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve immortality by not dying. I don't want to die. But my friends are dying. I went to a funeral yesterday in Cambridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, that sounds like I was quite being cheerful about it. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, the reason Julian sounded, oh really, was because we usually have a pre-recording chat as to what we're going to talk about. And I hadn't mentioned that. It was a woman called Nancy Lane, who I met when I was an undergraduate 50 years ago, close to the day. And she was a brilliant teacher. She was a brilliant mentor for young women. And she was funny and energetic. Her husband was great. And she'll be sorely missed. And it was a very nice funeral in Cambridge, in Newnham, for those of you who may know Cambridge. Packed. And it was really, it was a fitting end to a good life. It was very positive in a way.
Well, I had a message from my brother, funnily enough, at the start of the year, and he was saying, "Oh, it's all a bit gloomy here. My boss died before Christmas. He was only 54," and I was going to respond and say, "Every cloud, eh?" But I was told that was in rather poor taste. But am I worried about dying? No, I'm not worried about dying. Do I want to die? Sometimes you watch too much news, you feel like checking out. No, am I worried about getting old? Well, I am old. I was saying to a friend of mine the other day, one of the good things about getting old is that you can no longer die young.
That's for sure.
I suppose it's an advantage. You can also no longer get early onset dementia, which has got to be a positive.
Once you reach a certain age, then if you've got that far, you have cause to be pleased. And if you've got that far with a brain that still works, then you've got cause to be pleased as well.
Well, I mean, as you know, I had prostate cancer a year or two ago, and I used to think that cancer was one of those things that happened to other people. They say that is it 1 in 3 people will get cancer. And I used to pride myself. I used to be quite pleased with the fact that I was one of the 2. Only that I am now the 1, and therefore you, Jim, are lucky, because if there's another man around, you're both free of it. But the thing is,
Statistics doesn't work quite like that.
Well,
but carry on.
Okay, but the thing is, now, if you like, because I used to think cancer was something that happened to other people. Now I think that death is something that happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. Now that, it might be a ridiculous way to approach it, but I mean, when it comes, doesn't it? You can't stave it off, can you? Stop eating pizza, I suppose.
I just don't want to be there when it happens. And I won't be for very long. This isn't on the topic of mortality, but of funerals. And Francis Crick, the well-known scientist, was asked what sort of funeral would he like? And he said, "Surprise me," which I thought was quite good.
I think I don't worry about dying. I suppose I do worry about declining. So I'm 69, reasonably fit and healthy, despite usual troubles. I don't want to, in a couple of years, find that I can't walk, or I can't breathe unaided, or I can't cycle, I can't etc., etc. I do worry about declining health, declining faculties. I don't know if you've noticed your memory gets... Do you have trouble with your memory? I can't remember if I asked you that.
I do. I can't remember names ever, and I think that's getting worse. Names are bad. Apart from that, no, I don't think. I think I'm still pretty sharp on most.
But do you worry about declining as opposed to dying?
I worry about physical decline. Yeah, I do. I don't worry so much about mental decline at the moment, but physical decline. When I was in Germany a few months ago, I fell over and landed heavily on my arm, and the bloody arm still hurts. And I've been to a physiotherapist, and she's been pounding me and kneading me and all that sort of stuff. Doesn't seem to be helping very much. And I used to be able to hold my hand up this far, and now it won't go much higher. It's annoying. I can't bench press anymore, for example. That's irritating.
I can imagine. Frailty, I suppose. I'm a little bit scared. I don't know if scared is the right word, but I'm a little bit scared of declining health. I'm a little bit scared of declining faculties, and I'm a little bit scared of becoming frail. I notice now, and I can't remember when it happened, but there is a point, I think, in a man's life, and one assumes in a woman's life as well, where you no longer walk down the stairs without holding the banister. Can you pinpoint when you start?
Well, I can pinpoint that. Apparently the Queen, the late Queen, said that the biggest aid to safety is the handrail by the banister, handrails going downstairs. And I began doing it seriously when, a year and a half ago, I did fall down the stairs. And I took a mighty fall, and I broke 5 ribs and had some lung trouble as well. And now I go down really carefully. Even if it, down into our basement, when I'm at the tube station, I always position myself near to the banister rail, if not holding on to it. So yeah, I do.
And that great Jam song, isn't it? Down in the tube station at midnight, holding on to the banister.
That's the one.
And I imagine Paul Weller, being a similar age to us now, probably holds on to the banister. But I do sometimes find myself thinking, shall I walk down these stairs without holding on to the banister? I mean, talk about living on the edge.
Yeah.
Talk about taking risks. So I worry about that, walking downstairs, falling over. I worry about slipping over in the street, partly I think from embarrassment, because I remember I went up to town with my son, and we did a walk from along the South Bank. We went to the O2 and walked over the O2. Anyway, as it happens, we were at Greenwich by the Cutty Sark, and I stepped off the curb, which I quite often do without realising that there's a step down. Do you do this?
Yes, you feel that shudder as you go.
And I went arse over tit.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And bang on the pavement. And I was embarrassed, although not nearly as embarrassed as my son was, right, who pretended not to know me, which was even more embarrassing. But that kind of public display of frailty, that scares me a bit. I don't want to be that guy who pisses himself on the bus.
Yeah. The thing is, you reach at the age where, rather than simply falling down, you have a fall. And that's the thing. When you start to have a fall, that's pretty grim. We'll maybe come on to this, but thinking about hiking and walking, but I was in the Lake District last weekend with a friend of mine and his friend and his son. And we went up I like to call it a mountain. We'll call it a mountain for present purposes.
The man who walked up a hill and came down a mountain, or was it the other way around?
It was the other way. Well, anyway, we went up there. It is a mountain. It's a Wainwright. Does that make it a mountain? Might do.
Is it Munro? Anyway, let's move on.
Anyway, up we went, and it was fine, but it was bloody cold and it was bloody slippery. And I was really worried the whole time. In fact, I did fall 3 times on ice.
Did you have sticks?
No, because I wasn't ready for it. Anyway, it was so difficult coming down that my friend literally had to guide my foot into the steps as I came down something. It was that, and I was quite frightened in a way. I didn't admit it at the time, but it struck me that if I slip here and slide down these rocks into this stream, how the hell would I get off this mountain? I have no idea.
My mate Simon talks about spatial awareness as being the fourth sense. Is it the fourth sense? It's smell, taste, touch. Are they the? Is there a fourth
smell,
sense? Taste,
sight, hearing. So there are 5 senses.
Okay.
But actually there are many more. And your mate Simon's talking about something called proprioception, which is your ability to know where you are with respect to something else.
Yes. And he says, and I'm beginning to think he's right about this, it's particularly important and it's something that older people have trouble with. And I notice now when I go for a walk or perhaps more a hike, we'll talk about that in a moment, and by that I mean on uneven ground.
Yeah.
I spend 90% of my time looking down to see where my feet are going. Now, is that because I am not aware, if I'm not looking, of where my feet are going? Is that what you're talking about in that phrase that you said that I can't remember?
Proprioception. No, it's sort of being aware of where your hands are with respect to each other and with respect to objects. I think what you're talking about is what I felt when we were on this walk, which was that I simply wasn't sure what the ground was going to be like when my foot went down. And I, particularly on the rockier areas, was being very careful with each foot. And it made me marvel at people like fell runners who run down these slopes like mountain goats and just seem to be able to manage it. Unbelievable.
Well, I noticed
couldn't do that.
I notice when I'm doing a walk over uneven ground, let's say it's on a footpath through the forest or something, with my friend, that she walks looking ahead,
mm-hmm.
and I walk looking down. And there is an age difference between us, which may explain that, or it may just be that I am more conscious because I am more worried about falling or slipping or tripping, that I, if you like, overcompensate by spending more time looking down. And if I'm crossing like a stream or a little stream or something, I will look for a branch to hold on to.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because I need it, but because I feel I might need it. Does that make sense?
It sure does. When we crossed streams on our walk at the weekend, you have to look several steps ahead because one foot goes onto the stepping stone and then the next foot's going to go there, and you want to know that the momentum that carries you onto the following step. It's interesting that we're still able to do it, actually.
Well, let's talk about the difference between hiking and walking. You are a hiker, yes? You have done some serious
walks.
long distance walks, which we will call hikes.
Up and down hills.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have proper boots.
I do.
You carry a rucksack when you don't get your luggage transported.
Correct.
For you.
Yep.
You use walking sticks?
Sometimes. I eat Kendall milk mint cake. That's a good criterion.
You have a cagoule?
I have a... Yes, although it's a rather expensive cagoule. Yes, I have.
You have a proper hiking...
I have a proper hiking jacket. Yeah.
Now
and proper hiking trousers.
And all the gear and...
Quite a lot of idea. I have a compass.
And you know how to use it?
A literal compass.
Can you read a map?
Of course I can read a map.
A paper map as opposed to a map on your phone?
Yes.
You're a hiker.
Now,
I, on the other hand, aspire to be a hiker, but I'm being prevented from calling myself a hiker because I have only just purchased some boots, Decathlon, $39.99, in case you're interested. I can read a map. I do have sticks. I have got a rucksack, but not a big one. I have never camped, and I have not done a long-distance, multi-day hike like you have done. And we spoke last time, I think, about the West Highland
the time before,
way. So I do aspire to be a hiker. But what I'm thinking is, when I am a hiker, I will be thinking about, where am I putting my boot-shod feet? I'm thinking about my use of sticks. I'm thinking about slippery slopes and
Literally
tree roots
Yeah.
and boulders and the what is it? The vicissitudes that life could throw at me and cause me injury while hiking.
I think all hikers do what you're talking about. When I did the West Highland Way along Loch Lomond, it's very rooty. There are many roots and rocks and so on. And you're very careful to look at where you put your feet. But when you're walking on forest paths, of course you're not. And I think it's probably a question of experience, that if you were to walk these rougher paths more frequently, as you become a more experienced hiker, you may look down less and look forward more. I think that's quite likely.
Well, my friend says that you have to plan, or you have to kind of look ahead and sort of plot your route.
Yeah.
So whereas I'm looking, if you like, 2 feet or 3 feet ahead, if I was a proper hiker, I would be looking 6 or 8 feet ahead, plotting my route through the tree roots or the boulders, or avoiding the slippery bits or the muddy bits or the icy bits.
Well, I think it's very clear. When I've done it, if it's really challenging terrain, you do it one step at a time, because you can only see that far ahead sometimes. You've reached that point and then you think, oh, how do I get to the next one? Whereas if it's easier terrain, then you can plan more steps ahead. And again, I think it's a matter of experience. You know what you can do, you know how strong you are, and so on.
But why is it that there is this kind of sport snobbery, or what I call sport racism, in the sense that one person is a hiker but another person is a walker? Because you get the same thing in cycling, don't you? If you join a cycling club and you haven't got clipless pedals, for example, or you haven't got drop bars, what we used to call a race bike in the old days. You turn up a cycling club on a flat bar bike, right? Or you're wearing ordinary shorts as opposed to proper lycra. There is so much snobbery, which I guess you get in all sports. Do you want?
Well, I think
why is that? Is it just life?
It's a desire to belong and to be a member of a club, isn't it?
And do you belong by excluding others? Is that it?
Well,
you don't want to belong. What you want to do is exclude others.
Well, belonging, the more exclusive your club, the better you probably feel about it. And the only way you can make your club exclusive is by not admitting people. And so the rules you have for non-admission are you don't have the right gear. Perhaps that's what it is.
When I was secretary of my cycling club, which I'm not anymore, I wrote some stuff for our website about everybody is welcome. We don't care what sort of bike you ride or how old you are or how good a cyclist you are. Well, the only thing we care about is on a club ride, you need to be able to keep up the pace, right? Now, whether you ride a flat bar bike or drop bike or drop bar bike or it doesn't matter, as long as you can keep up. So that was the only exclusion. But I'm not sure.
But the keeping up is one of the hardest things to do for a new cyclist. When you're a new cyclist and you join a club, my word, you're surprised at how fast they go.
Yes. Now, I mean, what I did say was that on your first ride, if you're new to it, then we will wait for you. But after you've done it for a couple of times or you join the club, then you do have to keep up. Because
it's tough luck.
Yeah, because it is a the clue is in the name, as they
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
It's a cycling
Well,
club.
correct, but you're talking about a cycling club for people who cycle fast. There must be space for a club for people who like to pootle along.
But do the people who pootle along actually want to be in a cycling club? So let's say you're starting to play tennis, or you play a bit of tennis in the park with your kids or your mates or whatever it is, and you're quite happy messing about on the court. But if you're going to join a tennis club, you need to have a certain level of skill in order to, I mean, they might have some kind of, well, they have a junior section, but do they have a sort of duffers section?
I think part of wanting to join a club, I suggest that cycling clubs, yes, they're about cycling, but they're about friendship and camaraderie as well, and about improving your cycling. So one thing would be, how to improve your cycling? You go along and join a club. And they'll get you out on regular rides, and they'll show you roadcraft, and they'll give you advice on how to train, and so on and so on. Clearly that can't be achieved after one test ride on a Saturday with the club. So it seems to me that a good club would have space for people like that who want to come along and improve.
When I was in charge, wanted to make the club a bit more inclusive in that sense, but I did come up against quite a lot of opposition, which in a way you can understand, because a lot of people join a club, let's say they're married, they've got kids, they work during the week, so the only time they can ride is on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. And if they've gotten into cycling and they want to do a 2 or 3 hour ride on a Saturday at, let's say, average 13 miles an hour, if their enjoyment is compromised by having a whole load of duffers, they're going to think, well, that's not what I joined the club for. So getting that balance is very difficult. I think perhaps what you're talking about is there need to be cycling clubs for duffers.
Or a club that's big enough to have different leagues or something.
Yeah, like different leagues.
The elite down to the duffers.
But if you're a certain small club, then you have you have an issue with
that. I don't think a club solely for duffers would be very sustainable, actually. But I think a bigger club with a duffers league would be. And people would move through the leagues as well. Not in any formal sense. Somebody might feel, I can join the fast ones today.
Well, I mean, we have talked, I think, in previous podcasts about the decline of the cycling club and cycling as a sport. Racing cycling has certainly declined substantially in this country. But has that form of cycling declined? But the form of cycling that is represented, let's say, by people commuting on hybrid or Brompton bikes up to town on these new cycle lanes that are all over the place, is that a type of cycling that is growing but is not kind of recognised as such?
Yes, but commuting cycling, I claim, is different from what I call cycling. If you drive to work, you wouldn't necessarily be a member of a driving club, would you? You wouldn't necessarily.
No, are there such things as driving clubs?
Well, no, there aren't. And I think perhaps that's the whole point.
Okay.
People do drive to work, and they do it solely as a means of transport. There are clubs
for makes of car, aren't there?
Yeah, but they just wank about, don't they?
I had a colleague at work who was obsessed with Morris Marinas, which is one of the most useless, ugliest cars ever made. I think he had 3 of them.
Was he a married man?
Anyway, but those cyclists, those commuters, those Brompton riders are not joining cycling clubs, are they?
Well, I think that's because Bromptons are largely used for commuting, and people who commute on bicycles see it only as a member of transport, the mode of transport. Whereas you and I see cycling as something far bigger than that.
Yes and no. There is actually a London Brompton club, which you can find on Facebook, and I've done a couple of rides with them, and they are very keen Brompton.
They do a
cyclists.
race, don't they? A special,
they
special
do
championships.
But that is the London Brompton Club. There isn't a Brompton Club, as far as I know. Or it doesn't have to be Brompton Club. It could be a folding bicycle club, for example.
But that's the sort of club that would form anyway, because Bromptons are slightly quirky. Human beings like to belong to quirky clubs, so of course there's a Brompton Club.
Brompton lost £2 million last year. Where's it all gone wrong?
I think everybody...
By the way, this podcast does not give financial advice.
I think everybody who wants a Brompton has got one, and the market's declined for that reason. I've got a Brompton. I've had it 13, 14 years. It's in good nick. It's well made. Why would I buy another one? So I think they make them faster than they can sell them.
Is the kind of opposite or the downside of that, if you like, if one side, everyone who wants a Brompton has got one. On the other side, the ones who don't have a Brompton don't want one. It's a bit like RAFA. RAFA is inclusive for people who want to be RAFA wankers, but all the people who don't want to be a RAFA wanker do not want to buy RAFA.
Deliberately don't buy RAFA.
Deliberately don't buy RAFA. Is that the case with Bromptons?
No, I don't think it is. I
have a Brompton, but if I didn't have a Brompton, I think I would struggle to buy one because I don't own a laptop. And therefore I can't go into a cafe with my Brompton and my laptop and sit there and pretend to be a graphic designer or do they still exist, graphic design? Is it all done by AI?
All done by AI.
No.
No, I don't think there's an anti-Brompton movement in the way that there's an anti-RAFA movement. I think there's an anti-RAFA movement. I think those people who want a Brompton get one. I think what Brompton have to do is either, as we were discussing beforehand, expand their range of products or sell their Bromptons to yet more and more people. And they're quite expensive.
But how do they expand their range of products? I mean, if your raison d'etre as Brompton is that you make the Brompton folding bike, I mean, how much diversification can you do? Okay, they've introduced the G line, which has got bigger wheels and disc brakes and fatter tyres, and is no longer quite as foldable as a normal Brompton. But how do you diversify when you are essentially a one product company? You have a problem, don't you?
You sure do. And I cannot think of an answer for Brompton, and I hope they're not listening to me for advice.
Well, I mean,
they could make cheaper Bromptons, they could make more expensive, but they're already expensive.
They already make expensive.
They could make electric Bromptons. They do make electric
Bromptons. What they don't do, and I must say this surprises me, there is a massive aftermarket, particularly in Southeast Asia, for Brompton parts, particularly titanium parts, titanium upgrades, pimping, if you like.
Yeah.
You can spend a fortune pimping your Brompton onto aftermarket products, but they're not made by Brompton.
Well,
Why
that's
not?
an interesting
Why
point.
not?
Yeah. I used to get a magazine, or I used to see a magazine called A to B. Did you ever see this?
No.
It's a magazine called A to B for people who commuted on bikes, effectively. And they always had a section by Professor Brompton or whoever it was, where they would say, they would try to make your Brompton as light as possible. So, titanium, this, that, and the other, carbon seat posts, carbon handlebars, lighter brakes. They could take quite a lot of weight off. But you're right, you get those things from China or wherever, Taiwan, but never did Brompton make them.
I mean, Brompton sell various bits. But a lot of them they don't make, and I do wonder why. Staying with cycling, then news came out yesterday. Was it Simon Yates suddenly deciding to retire.
How old is he?
33.
That's still pretty young.
One of the unsung, but is he a great British cyclist? Where does he stand in the pantheon?
Well, when you begin to name British cyclists, it's not a long list that people have heard of. I doubt if very many people have heard of Simon Yates. Have people heard of, I don't know, David Miller? Fred Wright?
Well, if we're talking about the pantheon of great cyclists, we are really talking about Grand Tour winners.
Yeah.
Are we not?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is the second?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay, well, let me just pursue this thought. Who is the second most successful British cyclist in terms of Grand Tour wins?
I don't know, Julian. Who is the etc. etc.?
Simon Yates.
Is that right? Is that right?
Chris Froome,
Yeah.
4 Tours de France, 1 Giro d'Italia, 1 Vuelta. Simon Yates, 1 Giro d'Italia, 1 Vuelta. Bradley Wiggins, 1 Tour de France.
Well, you're very well up on this.
It's my duty to be well informed. Now, I think Simon Yates, well, one of his problems is he's an unbelievably dull interviewee. Okay, so he has not lit up Twitter or YouTube or podcasts with his startling wit. Now, not many cyclists have, but you'd have to say Bradley Wiggins is quite fun, interesting to listen to.
On many levels.
Froome is rather dour and dull, but he has won 6 world tours. Cavendish, great talker, interviewee, raconteur, I suppose. But that doesn't really get to the key question. Why do we think Simon Yates, at the age of 33, just over his prime, but still with a good few years left in him, why has he decided to quit now, and rather suddenly?
Does he think he can never beat Pogacar and Vindic?
He doesn't have to.
No.
Because his job with Visma Lease Bike was to be, if you like, a super domestique for Jonas. Now, if Jonas is riding the Giro d'Italia, which I believe he is, then Simon Yates would only be a domestic.
Yeah.
A domestique. Simon Yates is not going to be a Grand Tour winner again. So if he went to the Vuelta, it wouldn't be as a leader. Has he decided that in the same way that we worry at the age of 69 and 71 of a long, slow, not necessarily that long, not necessarily that slow either, decline into decrepitude and old age, that would be his future as a professional cyclist, and why not do something else?
Perhaps he just wants to do something else.
Go and run the wine bars.
Well, cycling as professional road race cycling as a way of life is tough.
Oh, God,
There's no question
unbelievably.
about that. So maybe he's just had enough.
I mean,
he's been doing this for so long, doing well, but nobody's heard of him in this country.
He probably hasn't had a decent square meal for 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that would turn anybody dour. I suspect.
But people who have had a square meal, and we haven't discussed. We've stuck to road cycling, but Chris Hoy, people have heard of Chris Hoy. Jason Kenny, Laura Kelly, Victoria Pendleton.
Laura Kenny. Yes, but they are big Olympics winners.
Yeah.
Yates, unlike Geraint Thomas, of course, who was an Olympic winner, Yates was never, I think I'm right in saying, never a track cyclist, never did anything on the track.
I think you're right.
Never did anything in the classics. He was a climber, and could have a good few years left in him as a super domestique. But perhaps he decided that, let's go and do something else.
What's the money like as a super domestique?
Well, that's a good question. I'd be surprised if Yates was on less than, let's say, €1,000,000.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not bad.
Probably more, actually.
Yeah.
Probably more than 1,000,000. I would have thought Adam Yates is on good 2 million at UAE as a super domestique for
Okay, so that's recompense for not eating a decent lunch every day.
It's a decent screw, yes. It's not footballer money. But then, I mean, what do professional cyclists do when they stop cycling? I mean, they become director sportifs like Geraint has done, or they become commentators. Well, the future has dropped out of commentating, hasn't it?
Just maybe they go and work for GCN or something. Yeah. It's tougher for cyclists than it is for footballers. You know, they don't.
It is, yeah. They don't have the. Well, they probably have a bit more in terms of longevity. I mean, Froome, bless his cotton socks, is 40.
Yeah. This
year, and for some reason does not announce his retirement, which is, who can explain that? Okay, so predictions. Who's going to win the Tour, Jim?
Pogačar.
Who's going to win the Giro?
Pogačar.
He's not riding the Giro.
Then do we know? He'll win it in my mind. Vingegaard then, if he's right. There's just two cyclists.
Do you think the Tour is nailed on for Pogačar? When you've got Remco at Bora,
mm-hmm.
when you've got Juan Ayuso at Little Trek, and Derek G now at Little Trek. Have you seen that?
Yeah. Derek
G broke his contract with Ismail Premier Tech, now gone to Little Trek. Are they out of the running, or are they serious competition for Pog?
Well, Pog has to fail at some point, or not win at some point. That's not necessarily failure, but I think he's just so good for the next 2 or 3. How many tours de France has he won? 3? 4. Well, he's going to be up there for 7, isn't he? He'll want to get 7, sure. Even though last year, when he finished the Tour last year, didn't he offer hints that he was going to pack it in? Nonsense.
He wasn't going to pack it in. He's got a contract with UAE until 2075.
And he must be making more than $1 million a year.
6 million in terms of salary, probably another couple million in terms of win bonuses, and probably another couple of million in terms of sponsorship deals.
Well, that'll keep him in espressos, whatever it is he's allowed to eat.
Keep him going for a while. I'm not sure I'd bet against Pog to win the Tour. I'd be very interested to see how Remco does. I have a feeling that Juan Ayuso is. I think he's got a temperament problem.
Well, I think what Pogačar can do is he gets the time when he needs the time. He just nibbles away at it when he has to, and I think he's really good at that. And he might not always perform brilliantly, but you have a look at the GC, and there he is at the top. I think he's brilliant. I think it's going to be Pogačar for the next couple of years in the Tour de France.
I think you're probably right. Should we do a bit of politics, Jim? What do you think about Venezuela? What do you think about Greenland? Should the US have it? Should we give it to them?
What do I think about ICE being upset because a woman was trying to drive away from them, so they shot her? Greenland.
Let's talk about Greenland.
Christ. We were talking about getting old at the beginning, and you were saying you don't mind dying, but you don't want to grow too old. I don't want to be old in a world in which the US becomes this imperialist superpower that rides roughshod over everybody else, and that we, the UK, are just a lackey. Do you remember 1984? Oceania, Eurasia.
You mean the book?
The book.
Yes, a long time since I read it.
Yeah, well, I was at school
long before
when I read it,
1984. I should think.
yeah, but the Europa was that that was the USA. It was South Africa, Australia, and the UK. The UK was in there, and the UK was given the name Airstrip 1, because that's what we were as far as the USA were concerned. And I think we're going to turn into 3 superpowers. There's going to be USA, Little Airstrip 1, South Africa, Australasia. Then there's going to be Europe and a bit of Russia, and then there's going to be China. And those 3 superpowers will be at war with each other, and thank God I'll be dead.
Well, we can sit here like good Guardian readers and complain about Trump and ICE and Venezuela and Greenland and so on and so forth. But the question has to be, if we don't want Trump to have Greenland, what can we do to stop it?
We being Keir Starmer, you mean now?
Well, I suppose we being Great Britain.
We being Great Britain. We can't do anything to stop him, because if he wants to do it, he's just going to go in. And who's going to have the balls to stop him? Nobody.
So instead of...
NATO will be no more, of course. The whole world order will be completely screwed up.
Well, if we can't do anything to stop him, should we actually say, well, how can we take the positives out of this? I mean, we've just been thrashed in the Ashes.
Yeah.
We've been comprehensively taken apart by the Aussies. Okay. So what can we do to fix that situation? What can we do to take the positives out of that crushing defeat? So what can we do to take the positives out of Trump taking Greenland? You see, I kind of controversial, I know, but I mean, Greenland is a colony of Denmark, right? I mean, why has Denmark got Greenland anymore? Why have we got the Falklands? You know, why don't we should, the Falklands should belong to Argentina. Let's face it. And Greenland, why have the Danes got it? What the fuck have they ever done for us?
Greenland should be part of Canada, if anywhere.
See, I have a theory that, you know, on a flat map of the world, which I think is called Mercator's projection. Right?
Greenland looks huge.
Yeah. Greenland is absolutely enormous, isn't it? Is it possible that Trump looks at the flat map of the world and thinks that Greenland is far bigger than it? Now, it is actually the 12th biggest
island
country
in the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
So let's not run away with the fact that it's not big. It is big. It is fucking big. But it is not as big as it appears on Mercator's projection. So does Trump think, why don't we have that bit of land? We'll become twice as big as we are now in the States.
I think Trump just sees it. Yeah, Trump just sees it as strategically very important for the USA, no matter what its size. I think that if you know, do we appease Trump or do we go in there and stop him? Does the UK, the rest of Europe, the rest of NATO send troops into Greenland to stop Trump invading it?
No, that would be madness. Considering the US already has a base, naval base. I don't know what sort of base.
So why not just give Trump a base the size that he wants, for example?
Well, I think Denmark has offered him, as much ice as he can fit in his pockets and walk out of the room with. I mean, of course, Trump and the US should not have Greenland. But if we can't do anything realistically to stop him, maybe we need to try and find the positives out of it. Now, I don't personally think that Trump is going to take Greenland by force. I think what he's much more likely to do is simply to buy it. I mean, there are 56,000 Greenlanders. So let's say he gave each Greenlander $10,000.
You could get away with a lot more than that, I bet.
$500 million?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a drop in the ocean,
Yeah,
isn't it?
you could get away with tons more than that.
Yeah. So you could give them each $100,000 for each Greenlander. I mean, you can buy an awful lot of loyalty with that amount of
fish.
Green. So...
But if he gets Greenland in any way, shape or form, then what's the next thing he's going to do? He's going to look at his globe, if he has a globe, or his Mercator projection, and say, time for Canada.
Well, he's already
hinted at that. And the thing about Trump is, as we know, that when he hints at something, when he says something outrageous, he's actually just testing the water. So that won't be off his agenda.
I mean, what do you think about the kidnap of Maduro?
I was shocked.
Do you buy this argument? You know, he was a terrible man, he was a terrible dictator. He's done all these wicked things. So we're not really in favour of it, but we're glad he's gone.
Other drugs barons, he's just released, right? He's
the president of Honduras.
Yeah, so he pardons the president of Honduras, and he flies in, arrests Maduro, and puts him, has him done the perp walk in leg shackles and everything. It's horrible.
I mean, who was it? Was it Lord Acton? I think it was Lord Acton. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what I do hear on my cursory reading of The Guardian or so forth is that economically the US isn't doing particularly well at the moment, and economically, lots of Americans are not actually much in favour of Trump. So, of course, what happens in the midterm elections could be interesting.
Because Trump is going to try and cancel the midterm elections.
Well, he may do, but if that changes the makeup of Congress, that could put a block on his power. But
he doesn't pay any attention to Congress anyway.
Why, one has to say, where is the opposition in the US? Where are the Democrats in the US? Why is nobody in the US doing anything to stop this lunatic?
I don't understand that. Where is Pete Buttigieg, for example, who is saying nothing, who was, to me, for a while, the only credible candidate that the US had on the Democrat side? Who's the army? Is it Kelly, who said that American troops need not obey illegal orders? Do you know this story?
No, I've not heard.
So I think his name's Kelly, and he was interviewed, and he said that American troops need not obey illegal orders, and Stephen Miller and Trump have now been accusing him of sedition, of treason. This man's retired, this Kelly. They're going to demote him in retirement, and they're going to cut his pension and all sorts of stuff for saying what is simply the law. So you can't trust them. They're the most appalling people who pay no attention to Congress, who do what they want to do. And nobody is reacting against them. The only people who say anything are members of the independent media. A guy called Brian Tyler Cohen I listen to quite a lot. He's worth a listen. He's really good. And on actually mainstream media, Lawrence somebody or other. Do you know? This is very unsatisfactory.
I don't really watch enough news or. I kind of absorb enough news so that I can talk sensibly with people who know a lot more than I do and pretend as if I know as much as them.
Yeah.
But actually I don't.
Yeah. I wish I could remember this fellow's name. I think it's Lawrence somebody or other, which I shall maybe in the description to our podcast.
In the show notes,
sort of thing. In the
as
show
they say, other
notes,
podcasts would say in the show notes. Okay, well, we've done we've done politics. Any what's going on in our cultural life at the moment, Jim? Seen any films? Seen any plays?
We
Read any
both
books?
went to the same exhibition independently on the same day, Julian.
Oh, I thought you'd seen that exhibition previously.
No, that was
Wow.
the first time.
Wow.
So we're talking
What
about
was that?
secret maps at the British Library.
Oh,
Really
yes,
interesting.
I went to that, didn't I?
You did go to that.
It was a very interesting
We both
exhibition. Not that big, I didn't think. A little bit gloomy. A lot of people d'un certain âge, if you know
Well,
that French expression.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Same age as us,
I see.
basically. And a lot of no longer in the first flush of youth.
Yeah, it's true. But that's an interesting thing about the British Library. I used to be on their advisory council, and we discussed this a certain amount, that the people going to the British Library in general, it's like a barbell, heavy at the young end and heavy at the old end. The oldsters, like us, we go to the exhibitions, and we went to this Secret Maps exhibition independently, and we can talk about that very briefly. It was very good. But then the young people go, and they occupy all the desks, and they use the Wi-Fi, and it's warm, and they have coffee, and they love it. It's packed with young people.
I've never actually been to the British Library before.
I go all the time. I love it. And the other place in the British Library you should go is the Treasures of the British Library. Did you go there?
No.
When you go next. So it's got Beatles lyrics.
Is it free?
It is free. That's the great thing about the library, except for the exhibition, which I guess you had to pay for, did you? I'm a member, so I went for nothing.
Well, I had to pay 20 quid, and I was a little bit irritated, I've got to say, because if you're, I don't know, 9 to 16 or so, something, you get it cheaper. If you're disabled, you get it cheaper. If you're on benefits, you get it cheaper. If you do, this, that, and the other, you get it cheaper. But if you're this is going to sound terrible.
Middle class, white, well-off guy.
If you're a middle class, middle-aged, white bloke, you get nothing.
Well, suck it up, because for the rest of your life you've had everything.
You get nothing in this world.
That's life, mate. And I wouldn't, I think... Anyway, you can always become a member, and then you can go to all sorts of stuff. You get 20% off in the restaurants. It's fantastic. Become a member of the British Library. But the Treasures of the British Library is outstanding. I think it's the least well-known and one of the best exhibitions in the whole of the city.
Okay, well,
Mozart manuscript, Beatles lyrics, it's all there. Handwritten by John Lennon, Paul Manson, and Wolfgang Amadeus himself.
Mozart. Why have we, the British, got Mozart's, what's it called? The libretto is the words, isn't it?
Yes.
Why have we got Mozart's music?
Well,
is this a kind of Elgin Marbles thing?
Well, we've got some of Mozart's music. I wouldn't say we have a lot of Mozart's music. We've got enough.
Have we got all of his CDs?
We've got all his CDs. Yeah, but it's not just Mozart. It's Handel. They're all there. It's fantastic.
Okay, well, I shall make my way there.
It's got
Magna
Carta's there.
Oh, I've seen Magna Carta. When did I see Magna Carta? Is it Norwich or something like that?
Somewhere like Canterbury.
It just looked like a bit of manuscript to me.
Yeah, well, I thought what you were going to say. We're on 54 minutes now, Julian. Isn't this amazing?
Good Lord.
I thought what you were going to say is, why should we want to see these original manuscripts? And for me, it's because you're so close to the pen of the individual. It really, there's something about it that is just
I can see that. And they had in the Secret Maps exhibition a map that was produced for Henry VIII, showing the sea channels out of Holland for the transport of Anne of Cleves. So that those kind of 500, 600-year-old maps, whatever, I thought were fascinating. The other thing I thought was fascinating was the kind of silk maps. There were some maps printed on underwear, maps used
Well,
in
hang on. The
D-Day
maps weren't
landings.
printed on underwear. The underwear was made out of maps.
The underwear was made out of maps.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Yeah, I think so. The bra and the...
Yeah. So what that
Petticoat.
was, so maps were made for the invading troops, and the maps were hidden inside records and books and so on.
Yeah.
And they were printed on silk, the idea being that it's very light and
Yeah,
easy to
yeah.
conceal and so on. So they made a lot of these maps. After the war, you've got hundreds and hundreds and thousands of silk maps that are no use to man nor beast.
Oh, so they were then made into
They were
underwear.
then made
oh,
into underwear.
right. Okay. Well, that's Marks and Spencer's missing a trick
Yes.
there. And X marks the spot. I
X
suppose.
marks the spot. And on that note...
For teenagers. Well, no, I'm not finished.
Oh,
This cultural life. I've been to see a couple of movies. I went to see Marty Supreme with Timothy Chalamet about table tennis, which I thought was really good. And Timothy Chalamet is amazing in it. He really is superb. Gwyneth Paltrow is also in it. She's aged quite well, I suppose.
Sounded slightly patronising.
Far be it from me, as they say. What else? I'm currently reading Seasonal Suicide Notes by Roger Lewis, which is about 15 years old now, but I can highly recommend it. Very scurrilous, very funny. Probably wouldn't get published now because it's full of obscene and filthy and probably libelous comments about all sorts of people. But I can highly recommend that. I'm off to see Hamnet.
Oh, yeah.
Next week, and La Traviata, a filmed version of the great opera. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, things that annoy us.
Well, before you do that, I'll tell you what I'm reading.
Okay, right.
I only read one book at a time. I'm reading a book about Mike Lynch, the entrepreneur.
Now, yes, you mentioned that, and I read a review of it in The Guardian. It said it was a really good book.
It is a really
I'm
good
not really that interested in Mike Lynch, so tell me why I should read it.
Well, it's a really good book. Mike Lynch was a very, very interesting man. And
Tell us about him.
Well, I confess that I knew him. Not well.
And did you understand, is it
Bayesian statistics?
Statistics?
I have an inkling of what it is, improving your model based on past experience and so on. But I will tell you about Mike and the story about his wife.
Okay.
Mike,
his wife. They're both late, aren't they?
No, his wife survived.
Oh, his wife survived.
His
Okay.
daughter
Right, beg your pardon.
Hannah died with him. So I met Mike when we were building the Francis Crick Institute, and he was a potential donor. So I took him around the building as we were building it. And it turned out...
when was this?
This would have been about 2014, 15.
Okay.
And it turned out that we both went to the same college in Cambridge and both had the same tutor and both had a great time at that college that taught us a lot. And we clicked, we liked each other. So it was fun meeting him there and to see what sort of a man he was, and driven and really, really smart, really driven. And I liked him. This was before I knew about the problems he had with autonomy and Hewlett-Packard and so on. But his wife I met at another fundraising event, which was a lunch held at Covent Garden. And it was a thing that Cancer Research UK organised called Foreign Sisters, where quite well-off women got together to have lunch and give money to...
Mm-hmm.
And I sat next to Angela Lynch. And we were chatting, and she was very nice. I think we had a nice time. And just as I was getting up to go and give my talk, somebody came around selling raffle tickets. So I reached into my pocket, 50p, thinking that would get me a raffle ticket. But of course, they were 50 quid each, these raffle tickets. And this at the time still is beyond what I would spend on a raffle ticket. But Angela bought me a raffle ticket. So when I came and sat down after giving my little talk, there it was. And I was then terribly frightened that I'd win, because the prize was a handbag or something, a very expensive handbag. But what I didn't realise was that form on those occasions is, should you win, you instantly put it up for auction. So anyway, I didn't win it. But Angela was very nice. Mike was Mike. And I was aware of their daughter because she went to the same school that I was a governor at. And everybody there thought terribly highly of her. So my reading this book, and I'm only a little way into it, it's really, really interesting for me because I knew him. But also I think, as The Guardian review said, it's a very good book indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I was reading the review. I don't often read book reviews in The Guardian, but I kind of thought, maybe read the first sentence and it kind of drew me in. So, yeah, no, it looked very interesting. Okay, things that a new section for the podcast, Jim. Things that annoy us.
Pet peeves.
Pet peeves.
Have you met my pet peeve?
Come on, give me yours, if you have one.
Well, I think we agree on this. It's people. It's people on escalators standing on the left. It's people on their phones all the time. Drives me around the bend. People saying espresso when they should say espresso.
Pacific when they should say specific.
Correct. Yeah. Etc. So I'm afraid I'm a bit grumpy. People wearing rucksacks on their front.
Oh, babies on their front.
People
Somebody
wearing
else complained about
rucksacks on
that.
their back and turning around and clobbering me.
Well, what about people who wear rucksacks over one shoulder?
Oh, I do that all the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that an affectation?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I actually saw something. I may have heard it on James O'Brien's Mystery Hour. There was a question about it. Why do we stand on the right of the escalator when
Good
we
question.
thought we should stand on the left? Now, he gave an explanation. I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with the way the escalators exit at the top.
Really?
Yeah, something where they kind of curve at the top, but I can't remember.
I don't believe that for a minute.
We can Google it. The thing that is currently winding me up at the most at the moment from a big long list is when and this goes back to walking and hiking. You're walking along or you're hiking along a path which is generally quite narrow, and in front of you there are three people or more if it's a family group, particularly around Christmas, and they've dragged along the grandmother and the dog, and they're walking side by side. In other words, they take up the whole path and
Gotcha.
they're strolling along because they're not walking with purpose. They don't realise and couldn't care less that there's somebody behind them who wants to pass, and you have that kind of awkwardness. Excuse me, because you don't want to say it too loudly because you don't want to annoy people. And of course they don't hear you, so excuse me. And they don't hear you because they're just rabbiting on about what they had for Christmas dinner and what presents they got. Excuse me, can you get out of the fucking way, please? And then you can get past. Now that really winds me up.
Well, that winds me up on escalators as well.
Because they stand on the left but don't walk on the left. Is that because they're foreigners? They don't understand how we do things in this country.
There are signs that say stand on the right or whatever it is. No, I think they just don't think. There aren't many people who do it, but when they do it, you're right. Excuse me.
And they have
Excuse me,
suitcases.
please.
And they have suitcases.
Yeah. If they have really big suitcases or something, it's fine. I'm cool. I can live with it. But if they just get in my way, it
When I
annoys
went
me.
to the British Library exhibition, I got off at St Pancras. And of course, I got off with 500,000 people who were also going through St Pancras. And most of them had like 9 suitcases and backpacks, front and back. And you're trying to get on the tube and they're taking out all the space. And of course, there's a big family group, so they all want to stand together. So you can't get on the tube. I mean, what is it? Come on. Come to our country. Learn the rules. That sounds terrible.
That does sound terrible. I completely dissociate myself from that comment.
I am an equal opportunities person. I hate everybody.
Yeah.
Right, and on that note...
On that note, I was wondering whether to say that I dislike being asked my name when I go to Starbucks.
Oh, what? So they can write your name on the...
Yeah. So I'll tell you for why, as Eric Morgan would say.
As Gavin and Stacey would say, I'll tell you for why.
I thought that was an Eric Morganism.
It probably is. Go on,
maybe
then.
I'm
Starbucks.
Anyway, so as a person with a stammer, the thing that you find hardest to say is your own name. And because otherwise, as we speak, I've said it before probably, I'm editing what I'm going to say. If there's a word that comes up that begins with a letter that I can't, I use a different word that starts with a different letter. But if you're asked your name, I can't say I'm called Fred because my name isn't Fred. So I have to say
they don't know that in Starbucks.
Well, they don't. And I do sometimes give a false name.
What name do you give?
Well, whatever name happens to be easier at the time.
Okay.
It wouldn't be Julian.
What came up last?
I can't remember.
It might
probably
say a lot.
Jim.
It might say... Well, that is your name.
I know it is. It doesn't always happen.
Is that a false name?
All right. I can't remember. But I do know that it irritates me. And there's an organisation called Stammer, STAMMA, which I'm vaguely involved with, which is lobbying Starbucks not to do this. And they're winning. So there you go.
Well, a long podcast starting off 2026. Apologies if you've got this far. But thank you for staying with us. I've been Julian Hutchings, known as Jules.
And I've been Fred Smith, known as Jim.
And together we are Jules and Jim. So until the next time, goodbye.
Au revoir.